How you doing, Bruin fans? Todd Reeves here with your UCLA Daily Report, part of the Fan Arch Network. Glad you've joined me today on this Wednesday, March 18th, 2026. We're doing something a little different today. We're going to talk men's basketball, but we're going to talk about who the most important player on the UCLA basketball team is. And when I say most important player, it's not necessarily the best player, because it might be pretty obvious who that is. And it's not necessarily the team MVP. I'm talking most important player as far as who's going to be the key to UCLA in making a run in the NCAA tournament. Who's going to be that guy like Johnny Juzang a few years ago, where he just got on fire and the Bruins looked to him in crunch time and close games in the NCAA tournament, and he came through big time in tough spots. And who's going to be that guy this year? Mick Cronin yesterday in his press conference mentioned one of the keys to a nice tournament run would be a player getting hot. So who is that going to be? We're going to talk about that today. And our first candidate for most important player is I wouldn't even say arguably, it probably is their best player in Tyler Bilodeau. Bilodeau, who plays the power forward and center position this year. Now he's kind of moved to the center position, the 5 spot, if that's what you want to call it, with Xavier Booker going to the bench and UCLA going to the 3 guards. And Bilodeau led the team in scoring, averaging nearly 18 points a game, which was 5 points better than the second leading scorer. He's also by far the Bruins' leading 3-point shooter, shooting 46%. So when you talk about someone who could get hot, I mean, you got to look at Tyler Bilodeau. He's probably going to be the player drafted first amongst all the Bruins on this squad. We'll see where that goes. It depends who actually stays and who leaves, but more than likely Tyler Bilodeau has really worked himself up the draft boards with the type of season he's had. He's also shooting it at 86% from the free throw line, so he's a reliable free throw shooter. So down the stretch in a tight game, if you need someone to hit a couple of clutch free throws, Bilodeau will definitely be a candidate to do that. Well, why isn't he the most important player? Well, first of all, he's not a great defender. He's an adequate defender, but he's undersized, especially guarding really big, beefy, centers out there. He kind of struggles with the strength. He's about 6'8", so he's kind of undersized. He also only averages 5 rebounds per game. He's not a great rebounder. Xavier Booker was a better rebounder, Eric Daly this year was a better rebounder than Tyler Bilodeau this year. They averaged a little over 5, both of them. But Tyler Bilodeau has had some really great games, including a 32-point performance against Minnesota, but that wasn't a loss. So you could make the argument, yeah, he scored 32, but how can you call him the most important player when he scored that many points in a loss? Plus, UCLA had to go without him for half the Michigan State game after he hurt that knee. And the Bruins did just fine without him. I mean, they won the game, and they looked pretty good doing it. Now, yes, Michigan State made a run, but I think that was just Michigan State getting desperate and, realizing that their Big Ten tournament was on the line and tried to do everything they could. But UCLA held on for the victory. So that's the case for Bilodeau not being the most important player. But when you look at who's going to lead you in a tournament game, it's a good chance it's going to be the guy who's leading the team in scoring and shooting so far this year. But there's another guy you can make the case for, and that, of course, is the point guard, Donovan Dent. I mean, you've got to start with the point guard. He's the guy that runs the offense, that leads the Bruin attack. He's also kind of the guy that, guards the point guard on the other team as they bring up the ball. He needs to be doing well, pressuring the point guard, making things difficult for him. And Donovan Dent has been spectacular the second half of the year, especially like late down the stretch. He's the second leading scorer for the Bruins, averaging 13.5 per game. He also leads the team in assists. He's also one of the top point guards when you talk about assist to turnover ratio. He's just been phenomenal taking care of the ball. And, thing is he left the game after 10 minutes against Purdue, and that was the game they lost. So, I mean, you can make the argument that it's Donovan Dent, and also the fact that when Donovan Dent plays well, UCLA seems to be almost unbeatable. I mean, he had 25 points against the Trojans when they shellacked them at the Galen Center. He also, don't forget, had that triple-double against Rutgers. He also had a huge game in that Michigan State game. I mean, that triple-double was the first triple-double in Big Ten history, or Big Ten tournament history. It was only the fourth triple-double in UCLA history, the first since Kyle Anderson. So Donovan Dent has been just absolutely spectacular down the stretch, and they're going to need him because he's coming off that calf strain that he suffered against Purdue. He only played 10 minutes, but Donovan Dent, not only with his scoring, his shooting outside has been getting better, and the way he assists the ball and finds open guys and finds his teammates for buckets has just been outstanding. He's been probably arguably the best point guard in the country the last week, and it's just amazing how far he's come after the beginning of the season when he was just awful. And UCLA wasn't very good. I mean, they didn't have any bad losses in the non-conference, but when Donovan Dent was really struggling, they lost to Arizona, they lost to Gonzaga, and they barely had to hold on when they played Washington at Washington. So Donovan Dent, when he's going well, UCLA has been going well, and you could definitely make the argument for the point guard being the best player on the team. And speaking of guards, let's go to the other guard, Trent Perry. You can make the argument that Trent Perry has been just an outstanding player too. The improvement from last year as a freshman to this year as a sophomore has been out of this world. He's averaging 11 points per game, and I'll tell you why he might be the most important, because he might be the most versatile player on the roster, for UCLA. He's the two guard, or the small forward. He kind of interchanges him and Sky Clark depending on the defensive matchups. But for the most part, Trent Perry's usually guarding the small forward on the opposite team. Plus, when Donovan Dent went down, it was Trent Perry who took over the point guard duties and did a very nice job against Purdue. So Trent Perry, you could make the argument he's the most important player because, A, you're going to need his shooting. He's shooting at around 40%, 41% from three-point range this year. And also, if Donovan Dent gets in foul trouble or cross your fingers, but if he, has a little problem with that calf again, you have solid point guard play in Trent Perry, who, again, it wasn't like he was playing in a game against, Cal Poly or UC Santa Barbara. He was playing against Purdue, the team that is a 2 seed in the tournament, and they won the Big Ten tournament, and Perry held his own, and against one of the best point guards in the country as well. So Perry, you could also make the case being, a very, very important player. But, who else could we look at? Well, you got to go to the guards. And it's another guard. It's Sky Clark. Clark got hurt, missed about, half of the season with that really badly strained hamstring. And UCLA really struggled when he was not available. They had to go to what they thought was their normal lineup, where they had Xavier Booker playing the center position, and then in the backcourt it was Perry and Donovan Dent. But UCLA, not only have they played much better since Donovan Dent kind of woke up, but also since Sky Clark has come back. His shot has been hit and miss since he came back, but he had a couple of games where he had double-digit scoring in the Big Ten tournament. And he's also probably the best defensive player on the UCLA team as far as guarding the other team's guard or a wing person. When they have a leading scorer or they have a really good player on the other side that Sky Clark can guard, he's the one that's going to be able to guard him and try to hold him down. He's their number one defensive player. He's not necessarily a stopper. He's not like Jalen Clark or even Kobe Johnson from last season. But Clark, again, has the ability to do some things defensively that will disrupt the other team's best player. So Sky Clark is also very valuable. And again, the major case for him is just the fact that UCLA, with him on the floor and with that 3 guards starting lineup, UCLA is just a much better team. And also, he's a guy, I mean, we talked about Bilodeau getting hot from the outside. He could get hot from the outside as well. If he starts putting in some, 25, 30-point games, which he has done this year, then maybe he's the go-to guy, especially when you have Donovan Dent penetrating and the defense collapsing in on Bilodeau. There's going to be players open on the perimeter, and one of those players could be Sky Clark, and he's going to get some wide open looks. I mean, you can book it right now. There's going to be open looks for Sky Clark against UCF and UConn or whoever they play in the tournament, and he's going to have to knock those down. So hopefully he gets his shot going again once the tournament starts on Friday for the Bruins, and UCLA can, see how far they can go. Because UCLA, don't forget, when they made the Final Four on that Johnny Juzang team, they were in the play-in game. They had to play their way in, beating Michigan State in that play-in game, and they were an 11 seed, and they were still able to make that run. So just the fact that they're a 7 seed, you can't discount them, because this is probably, them and Kentucky, you could kind of argue, are the most talented 7 seeds in the bracket. And I guarantee you the 2 seeds there are going to be looking at those guys as very dangerous and someone that they'll have to really play well against. I mean, if you saw UCLA play in the Big Ten tournament, they've proven that they can beat really good teams. I mean, they've beaten in the regular season, they beat 3 top 10 teams, and then in the Big Ten tournament, they beat Michigan State. So UCLA is not a team to take lightly, and it'll be one of these 4 guys that really has to, take control and take the reins and lead this squad through the bracket, and hopefully they can maybe even get to a Final Four, which would be the second under Mick Cronin. So that's just a little discussion, a little debate, I should say, about these 4 guys. So if you have someone in mind, or if you have someone, if you want to make the case for one of these 4, or if you have, make it Xavier Booker. I mean, you could say, like, if Xavier Booker somehow plays really well, I mean, that gives us an inside presence that we haven't had, either defensively or offensively. Plus, Booker can also step out and hit the 3. So you have him or Jamar Brown or Eric Freeney. I mean, all these guys are going to be important to contribute off the bench as well. So, put some comments down below. Tell me who you think is the most important Bruin going into the NCAA tournament, and we'll see what happens. Starting on Friday, 4:25 on Friday afternoon or early evening, what do you want to call it? It'll be UCLA against Central Florida in Philadelphia. The Bruins will be heading out probably today and making their way back east, and we'll see how it goes. So, all right, Bruin fans, so make your voices heard down below in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow. Take care, everybody.